It's 6 o'clock. I'll call the safety committee meeting to order. On the first item on the agenda is surplus property.
The fire vehicle at the top is actually a water vehicle. It was used by the fire department recently. So whenever that gets declared as surplus, it will need to go back into the water fund 413 instead of in the general fund. And the rest of the bottom there is some equipment out at the fire stations, and I'm sure Chief can speak to more if you have any questions.
Yeah, we ain't got much, but we got a light bar and some old survive our packs that we had for 25 plus years. And we might not can get nothing out of them. We might can get somebody to have them put on the wall, something to make somebody like that, Bible, want them. And our system down there, I don't know what we could get out of that, but we might can get something out of that. And talking about that, we found out that our new one won't be here till sometime late part of September. They still having a problem ordering parts and getting parts in on it. And so we got a bunch of old computer monitors, keyboards, stuff like that. I guess we all put it together and see if we could sell it at a package and that pretty good type. So
That's empty.
it is. So we may get more out of that than we do any of it. So
What is that? Mako?
that's an air compressor.
Oh, okay.
That's the name of it. Yeah,
Because we're not using that right now. We're filling up at
yeah, Colorado River.
Collins River.
Yeah.
Can that thing actually be repaired? Somebody wanted to. It's money,
Well,
yeah.
if somebody know what they're doing, they might can, but the last guy that came over, he couldn't get it fixed, so we had to get a guy out of Nashville to come up, and he got it back going for us. And he, I don't know how long he go work, and he didn't work, not long, 2-3 months, and he went out again, so. But I don't know. But that's all I got.
The other ones, the police vehicles, we're still currently using all of them right now, but we wanted to go ahead and maybe declare them as surplus, that these are the ones that, some of them that needs to be replaced whenever we get the new ones in and the ones we have updated. The one that's showing on there is next to last. It's got the WG in it, right above the fire vehicle. That is actually a seized vehicle, so that one will have to go into the drug fund.
It just happens to be a Chevy Impala.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't have the police package. It is actually seized.
And these are all ones you're still gonna be driving to get your new ones in?
Yes, yeah, we're having to use everything we have. Right now. That's all we have.
And no further questions for either the chiefs. I'll entertain a motion to declare these items of property surplus.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Second item is to review the police and fire budgets as well as the drug fund budget. And hopefully recommend that to the full board.
The only change in these budgets from what we discussed during the budget workshops is an increase in the fuel. We did that across the board for each of the departments. We looked at what actual usage was over the past 10 months, annualized that out, and then looked at what a projection may be. We ended up at regular unleaded at $4.50, which would affect both of these departments. And that, again, is just an estimate. We hope it will come back down, but in the event it doesn't, we may be looking at a budget amendment across the board for all fuel if it gets as high as they project that it may. As far as capital goes, as the Finance Committee reviewed a couple of weeks ago, as it pertains to police and fire, Police has quite a bit of equipment, including 6 new vehicles and the radios, the lights, the radar, things like that to upfit the vehicles. And then they also have $75,000, I believe, in there for a new police station plan. Yes, the $75,000 is included in this capital budget for fiscal year 22-23. And in addition to the police vehicles, they're looking at $42,000 for tasers, $28,400 for SWAT team ballistic vests. And those vests are a little beefier than what they wear day to day. For the fire department capital items, looking at getting the 2 sets of turnout gear for the rest of the shift. So shift A currently has 2 sets. Shift B and C still need their second set. Instead of putting that out over 2 years, we put it into 1. That would get everyone up to speed and have 2 sets of turnout gear to meet the requirements of the Barry Brady Act. They're also looking at a forcible entry prop that could be shared with the police department. And then a FEMA grant for swiftwater rescue, in the amount of $9,500, which would result in a boat, the trailer, the trucks to haul the boats and the trailers, then the training. There's a training portion included in there as well. And I'm sure the chief or Marty could speak more to the forcible entry prop, as there seemed to be a few questions about that the last time we spoke.
You'll want to tell us about that instrument, the forcible entry.
Yes, a forcible entry prop. What it is, it's a tool that we can use as firefighters or even police officers to hone the skill of forcing entry into a building. That's something that we all should be very, very good at, but you don't get a whole lot of opportunity to practice that. You just don't go smashing in doors all the time. So with this door, we looked at 3 different ones, and this was not only the cheapest one, but we feel it's the best option. It has 2 doors on it, swings inward and outward, left-hand side and right-hand side. And it's got a battering ram prop as well for police department to practice. It's got cutting, you can put locks on it and use it like cutting hinges. So I think it would be very, very useful for training for the fire and police. But it's $8,600. What is it?
Does this actually knock the door open, or do you saw things off?
You can do both. You can simulate sawing hinges, or it uses blocks of wood in there to that's your resistance, just like 1 by 1 or 1 by 2 wedges of wood, and you use your tools to force that. So after you buy the prop, the consumables are maybe a couple $100 a year to get everybody trained on it.
How do you stop the thing to blow the door open?
Right. It's got a base on it, probably 7 foot wide, and the whole prop weighs over 700 pounds. So it's real sturdy.
So it's something that would have a kind of a permanent home.
You can move it. It breaks down in about 5 or 6 different pieces. So 4 or 5 firefighters, about 10 minutes, you can load it up into a vehicle and move it.
I think when somebody's on the other side of the door, we want to be able to get to them.
Absolutely.
So I think being trained in that is pretty
Yeah.
important.
How long does it take to get it out of the truck and get it up to a door? It seems like it would take a while to do that. Like something like that.
Well, it's a prop. We would leave it at the station and we would train on it to simulate
Okay.
forcing doors.
Okay.
So it's not something we would carry around with us very often, maybe from station to station, during the training exercise. But something you'd set up and you'd leave it there for the most part. It is mobile, but you wouldn't want to, move it every day.
But the actual thing that you're going to breach the door with is handheld type.
Yes, the tools we use every day, the Halligans, the set of irons, sledgehammers, axes.
Okay.
So
This is just a training tool.
it's a training tool, absolutely.
You mentioned the locks too as well. I mean, you might use other tools like Sawzall or
Sawzall,
hacksaw.
reciprocating,
Reciprocating saw.
K12. And it's threaded rod, and you just keep going shorter and shorter and shorter. So you get the most for your buck out of it. And then it's a simulated lock, like cutting locks. It's simulated for cutting hinges, like on commercial doors.
So is this something that might be in kind of a, they don't know what they're getting to and they get up to the door and they got to figure out what to do, what tool to get. So thinking on their feet and being able to, because that's real life situations.
Right, absolutely. Knowing what tools, when you see the door, you'll be able to recognize the way it operates, the construction of it, whether it's a metal jam, wooden jam. And you can use that training to be a whole lot more efficient.
The only other thing to highlight in these two budgets is since the last time we met, there's been an added 3% step for each employee. When we had our workshops, we had only put the pay scale implementation cost. And since the finance committee last met, we added the 3% step in for each employee already in the budget. So that has been a change from what we saw in the workshops. But other than that, it's the fuel, the employees.
I think the only thing that I look at is the $75,000 for the plans for the police station. I don't have a problem with it being in the budget, but I do feel like we need to make sure everybody's in agreement with long-term plan before we start designing and spending that money.
Well, I think that's one of the things we're gonna do is look at alternatives. I asked Nolan to put together a bunch of alternatives and try to fix some estimated costs, not just spitballing it, but some kind of basic cost. So I don't think we're gonna be just going out there and asking for something without knowing what we're gonna ask for.
I should have that information sometime next week.
Okay.
Any other discussion regarding the safety committee's budget for next year regarding the police department and the fire department? Not, I'll entertain a motion to recommend to the full board.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Anything else to come before the safety committee? If not, we'll stand adjourned.
We're a little bit late starting out, but Finance Committee meeting will come to order. First item, business review, general government administrative budget. Samantha?
Since we met in our workshop, again, the only change, there wasn't any change to fuel. We don't have that much in admin, but we did increase everyone's wages by 3% to accommodate the 3% step, as we've done in the rest of the departmental budgets. There aren't, I take that back, there is a capital item in the administration budget,
Server.
the new server. I was talking with Scotty about that today. There may be a cost associated with local government to get that implemented, but we still should be within the range of what he has here. The $24,000 for the transportation equipment or transportation, it's for the city administrator vehicle. It's already been on order since November. Do you need a budget? I've got an extra. I didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's been on order since November. We expect to get it hopefully any day, but after the start of the fiscal year for sure. There's a window upgrade, and truly the $7,500 is for the repair of the third floor window. We have water running in. We hope the roof would fix it. It didn't fix the problem as we had hoped. And those are the capital items as it pertains to the administration department.
Is the one I've got here, item 121, is that 604,490? First item up there.
For personnel wages?
Yeah.
I have 608, 927.
Okay, I've got to get a new one probably then. Thank you.
All of these budgets, I should have said before, but they include a 5% increase to Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance premiums. We hope that that will actually be zero, if not a reduction in rates this year. We typically budget an increase of 10%. After meeting with Mark III 2 weeks ago, we realized that our employees have done a great job on not only their medical claims, but on their prescription claims as well. And we hope to realize a decrease in premiums, but until August of this year, we won't know that for certain. Regardless, that increase won't take effect until January 1, which would only be 6 months of the increase instead of a full 12 months. So the Health Life LTD insurance line of 142 is hopefully going to be less than what we have there, but we have budgeted high to accommodate for individuals going from employee only up to family. That is an additional cost for the city and for the employee.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'd make a motion to approve the finance department's budget.
We do these individually.
This is only for finance or
Right.
general government.
Okay.
Yeah, just for administrative.
Right.
But
I'll second it.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Review proposed 22-23 budgets as recommended by the committee. Couple of things. And that it looks like, and we don't have all the numbers yet, that our, let me find the right thing here. Okay, our projected ending balance for 6/30/22, which we did a year ago, we were projecting 3.7 million. It looks like that's going to be closer to 4.1 or maybe even higher, depending on when you get your numbers in. Is that correct?
Correct. I do believe it will be higher. And after you add in the ARP money of 2 million, that's why we're starting with the 6.1.
Right.
I do have May finalized. About halfway done with June. So until I get June finalized, I would like to stick with that 6.1 million starting number,
Mhm.
but I do think we can increase that
Okay.
before we finally, or do our first reading on the budget or finally adopt it.
And we're, in doing that, we're projecting a 5% return unspent money from the departments and also increased revenue plus the ARP funds.
Correct.
So, and the other thing is, you put in 5% increase in the insurance rate, correct?
Yes.
We thought it was going to be 10, now it's 5. It could be 0, we just don't know. And that 5% equals about $100,000.
The 10% is the 100,000, and 5% would be about 50.
About
So
50, okay.
from our workshop, in the workshop figures you had, it had a 10% increase. We reduced that to 5. Hopefully we could take it down to 0, but I think it's fair to leave some in there to account for any employee going from single coverage to family coverage. That is a pretty substantial increase for the employee and for the city. We never know or can predict those types of changes. Best case scenario, we go from family down to individual, but that rarely happens.
If there's any other thing that I have. I'm still not sure that we may have over projected the gas funds on every department, but it's so volatile. I don't know what else to do at this point in time. We just don't, like the police department, we're doubling it basically. And it could be, that's not enough. But I just came back from Florida last week and going down, we paid like 408 or something like that for gas. Coming back, we paid 388. So but I also found out today that Georgia has rescinded or postponed their taxes, their, sales tax. Now, do we pay sales tax on the gas we buy? Or not sales tax, but gas tax?
Yeah,
The
yes.
city, the city does not pay.
We don't pay we receive it. I'm sorry. We receive it. So if they do a sales tax holiday, it will affect our street aid.
But it won't
Fund.
affect the gas prices. we're
No,
paying.
not that we pay out.
Okay. And I think, what is that, 30 cents or something is the state gas tax?
I would have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, Georgia was one of the states that put off the gas tax until, I don't know how long, I don't know if it's a month or whatever. It was proposed in Tennessee, but I don't think anything's ever come about it at this point in time.
I know there were discussions during their budget process, but I don't know what was finally adopted.
Steve, you got any other questions about the whole budget?
I do not. I think looking at this, the things that stick out to me, we go back to the citizen survey. Street paving is up 200% from 250 to 500. Sidewalks are up 300% from 55 to 155, and that was 5,000 2 years ago. So that's 22 times what we had 2 years ago for sidewalks. Those are the first two items. The other one is improved stormwater. Last year we had 10,000. We're up 11 times that to 116 and change in expenditures this next year. So my hats off to those departments that have a lot more work to do next year. But in terms of listening to the survey, and I think we've done that in this budget.
I think that the one thing that we're gonna have to do is to get Frank and talk to Frank about the priorities for the sidewalks, because like I said, he's having trouble spending the 50 this year. And we put in 150, so I don't know where we're gonna come up with the people to do it unless we just change priorities, but you can't change the priorities of fixing potholes and fixing sewer lines when they break or water lines, that type of thing.
Well, last year we had one priority on that 50,000 was essentially looking at, redoing Main Street, but we postponed that because of the TDOT coming in to pave next year. And I think now Lyndon and the administrative department have been working on community development, been working on a priority list. I think that's, that will be
We actually
open to
have a
public.
priority list.
So we'll now actually have a,
Just like the
A way to-
street priority type, they got a grading.
It's based
system.
on certain criteria. And actually Frank started today on some sidewalks in a different area because we can't start on West Main yet. So
But you're talking about the priority of the department and what they're doing. And we also talked about the possibility of hiring some outside contractors to help sell that, which I think.
It'll cost us a lot more, but
Yeah.
if we're gonna get something done,
But
we're probably gonna have to
If
do
we
that.
can't, if they're doing all they can do, and we got that in our budget, we need to spend it somehow.
I think those things, and very pleased that we've been able to support our employees in this budget. And yeah, I think with all those things, I'm still surprised that we'll have 5.3 at the end of the year. That's still in operating expenses. We saw 34.6% in reserve. So I think that's an appropriate level to be at for this budget.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to recommend this to the board.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. At the tax rate, since we are not in dire straits from the standpoint of our reserve and what it takes to start next year, I would recommend we keep the same tax rate with no tax increase. That rate is presently 1.8497. Is that correct? That's what you told me, I think it was. And I don't you know, we don't need a tax increase. We certainly don't at this point in time. So that would be the tax rate is the same as it was last year. Got a motion to that?
So
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, unless there's anything else to come before the finance committee, we're adjourned.
moved.